host. I've got Nathan Hill on the NHP Chapter.
And I've been looking forward to speaking to Nathan Hill because it's a good day to talk about independent short
And
films.
today we're going to be reviewing Nathan Hill's movie.
Having gained success with his film, The Strange Game of Hide and Seek.
I've got online Nathan Hill. How are you, Nathan?
Special thanks to Nathan Hill who sent me a copy to view.
And what a great surprise this film is.
I first began to be really interested in movies watching Bruce Lee films. Saturdays, involved watching, sometimes all of his work. I'd spend 11 or 12 hours in a whole day just watching Bruce Lee films. And then I realised that he was dead, that I'd never meet him. So I tried to find someone that was close to him. And living in Melbourne, Australia, it's a long way from China, so there weren't many people here. However, luckily a childhood friend from school knew William Chung, and William had trained with Bruce Lee in Hong Kong, actually with Yip Man, doing Wing Chun, Kung Fu, and has set up schools all over Australia, so I got to meet him, so that was fantastic. Being heavily involved in the martial arts, particularly Taekwondo, I was drawn to my first film as an actor in a cult martial arts film called The Huntsman. They approached me because I could do the side splits and they needed a character who could perform that in the movie. So it was a wonderful experience and a great introduction to the film industry with a lot of great people that went on to become names. For example, the director of photography, Jamie Blanks, who went on to do Urban Legend and Valentine, and the lead actor, David No, who went on to act in The Matrix 2 and 3. So it was a great birth into film, and I got to perform the side splits and all of that. That movie ended up circulating around the globe, basically, and ended up in the personal collection of John Woo and Peter Jackson, and enabled that crew to then go on and work with Jackie Chan, who then came back here a couple of times and did some movies as well. So it was a great introduction as an actor into the film industry, being able to use those martial arts. In 1999 I auditioned and got the part in a huge, probably the biggest independent film at the time, called Radio Samurai, which was a comedy with some martial arts involved. So I was able to do a couple of kicks and stuff like that. A big independent film at the time with actors like Dennis Cord from Home and Away and Brooke Satchwell from Neighbours, who at the time had won Australia's most popular teenager for the country. So a lot of people sort of came together. I think the highlight for me in that movie was actually wearing what they called the JC, which was a tailor-made Jackie Chan stunt vest. So I got to fly through the airs and fight with samurai swords and all this sort of stuff. So that was a great first feature to act in. Tell me it tastes great.
It is smooth and sophisticated.
Like me. I knew you'd enjoy it. And that movie was written and directed by Nick Levy. Following Radio Samurai, I auditioned and got the part to play a character called Joel Hayden in a horror film called The Tub. This was a slightly different role for me, in which involved a lot of characterization, and at the time what I thought was method acting probably went a little bit too far with that idea. But it was a horror film based on a story by Richard Lehman. Richard Lehman, for those of you who don't know, is like the B-grade Stephen King. And it was the first Richard Lehman story that was going to be shown in film. Unfortunately, during the shoot, he died. So we weren't sort of too sure what to do with it. It was originally going to be a feature film, but it then became a short film, which we entered into festivals around the world, and it did get into some in America. One of the interesting things about working on that movie was the first time I was involved with the use of professional Steadicam, And at that time in the country, there was probably only 2 or 3 Steadicam operators in Australia. The chap that was on our movie was taught by the original Steadicam designer from The Shining. So it was a real delight to be able to work with someone like that and have this Steadicam operate where my character was able to walk up 2 or 3 flights of stairs, and sort of working with that medium at the time was very exciting. So now, both having a feature and a short film of some worth, I was able to take those to an acting agency, professional acting agency, and gain representation, proper representation for the first time, which then gave me the opportunity to work on bigger productions and paid productions. So after looking at my show reel, my agent says to me, she calls me up and she says, "How would you like to be a stand-in?" I said, "A stand-in? Are you kidding me? Like, I've just done a feature, an independent feature, and a short, and I'm ready to go. I want lead roles." Being a young, naive enthusiast. And she said, no, it's not what you think. This is going to be a Warner Brothers film. I said, "Hang on a minute, which movie exactly?" And it turns out to be Queen of the Damned. And I think to myself, okay, so you're going to pay me to stand on the set of a $40 million production. This is exciting. I'm going to learn a lot. So of course I said yes. And during the process, ended up doubling for some of the leads. And towards the end of the production, then was cast in the movie and got to play a vampire, which was amazing. I got to rub shoulders with some very talented people. Stuart Townsend, who had just come off the Lord of the Rings set and had been fired playing Aragorn, but I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I got to ask him a lot about what that was like in pre-production. Other famous actors, Vincent Perez from France, who I gelled with quite well on set, Marguerite Moreau, Lena Olin, Bruce Spence, Matthew Newton, and probably the big one was Aaliyah, working with her and actually being invited to her 21st birthday before she died. So it was an incredible experience to be on that set and have the opportunity to act in the film as well after only being asked to be a stand-in, and became a Warner Brothers film. So going to the premiere for that, seeing yourself on Super 35mm in the cinema obviously was a big experience for me, so I felt like the independent films had led to that moment. Even though it was a short moment on screen, it was a great beginning of better things to come. Hollywood coming to town created a big buzz, and one of the main stand-ins on the movie, who I worked with, a guy called Michael King, he was also the double for Lestat. We became good friends, and he said to me, "What are you going to do after this?" And I said, "I don't know, what are you going to do after this?" And he said, "I've been asked to be involved in a movie called Razor Eaters." At that time I hadn't actually met Paul Motor or Shannon Young as yet, but I did, and found out about their film, and they wanted a co-producer, and so I hooked them up with Nick Levy, who became one of the co-producers of this huge film, which was starring Richard Cawthorne, Fletcher Humphreys, Angus Sampson, believe it or not, Lee Winnall. The movie basically had every independent at the time in Melbourne all thrown into this movie as a big indie cocktail. Similar experience to what I'd had on Radio Samurai, but this was sort of the next level, and because Hollywood had come to town, everyone was very excited and thought they could do anything, so everyone ran out. But that film was successful and ended up being picked up by 20th Century Fox. With Razor Eaters, I'd only done a voiceover and a cameo appearance, but I had my sights set firmly on directing, and one of the things I'd always been doing was acting to get that little bit of pocket change so I could actually try and create something of my own. And so I was now finally in a position where I had enough money, I could go to film school, could finance myself, I bought a car, and I had enough money to make my first short film.